Have you ever felt like someone just slipped away from your life without warning? One day, they were texting you constantly, calling you, making you feel special. And then suddenly, everything changed. They became distant. The connection faded. And you were left wondering, what happened? Maybe you tried to fix it. You reached out, asked questions, tried to remind them of the bond you once shared. But instead of bringing them closer, it only seemed to push them further away. I know how frustrating that feels. I know the confusion, the self-doubt, the endless cycle of, was it me? Did I do something wrong? But here's the truth. This isn't about you. It's about the dynamic. The harder you chase, the more they pull away. Not because you're not enough, but because desperation is never attractive. The people who truly hold power in relationships, they don't chase. They don't beg. They don't prove their worth. They know their value. And that's exactly what draws others to them. So today I'm going to show you how to flip the script, how to go from chasing to being the one they can't ignore, how to shift the energy so completely that by the time they come back, you're the one deciding whether they're even worthy of your time. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. Stop chasing. Let them go. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you deeply cared about started to pull away? The texts became less frequent, the energy shifted, and before you knew it, you were the only one trying to keep the connection alive. You felt it slipping, and instead of stepping back, you chased. Maybe you sent that extra text, "Hey, hope you're doing well." No response. An hour later, you check Instagram. There they are, laughing, having fun, posting stories, but not replying to you. It stings. But instead of walking away, you wait, you rationalize it. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see my message. So you send another text, something lighthearted, something casual, and again, silence. What you don't realize is this. Every time you chase, you lower your value in their eyes. They know you're waiting. They know you're checking. They know they have power. And the more you prove that you need them, the less they feel the need to choose you. This is where everything needs to change. No one desires what they don't have to work for. No one values what's always available, and no one respects someone who doesn't respect themselves first. This is why chasing, whether through messages, calls, over-explaining, or constantly checking their social media, never works. It tells them one thing: I need you more than you need me. And the moment they sense that, the attraction dies. Think about the people you've admired, the ones who captivated your attention. Were they the ones constantly proving their worth? Or were they the ones who knew their value, carried themselves with confidence, and made you feel lucky to have access to them? This is the shift you must make. The only way to regain your power is simple. Let them go. Not as a game, not as a strategy, but because you deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. When you stop chasing, 2 things happen. You reclaim your self-respect. You stop waiting for someone to validate your worth. You stop living in reaction to their actions, and they feel your absence. When you stop being an option, they start questioning if they made a mistake. Absence is powerful, but only when it's absolute. Let's be clear, this isn't about ignoring them to get a reaction. It's about genuinely letting go and shifting your focus back to yourself. Imagine this. You stop chasing. You stop reaching out. You stop checking their social media. At first, they don't notice. They assume you're still there, still waiting, still lingering in the background, but then a few days pass, a week, and suddenly, there's silence where your energy used to be. They wonder, why haven't they checked in? Why aren't they watching my stories? Did they move on? And just like that, the dynamic shifts, because here's the thing. People don't miss you when you're always there. They miss you when you disappear. Look at your own life. When do you start appreciating something? Not when it's constantly available, but when it's suddenly gone. Your presence was a privilege. Let them feel what it's like to lose it. If you've been stuck in the cycle of chasing, it's time for a new mindset. No more proving your worth. They either see it or they don't. No more waiting for a response. Their silence is your answer. No more hoping they'll realize what they lost. That's their lesson to learn, not yours to teach. Instead, you set the standard. If they don't match it, they don't belong in your life. You walk away with confidence. Not to manipulate them, but because you know you deserve better. You focus on you, your growth, your happiness, your evolution. The irony? This is what makes people return. Not pleading, not proving, but becoming someone they can't ignore. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You cannot control whether someone stays or leaves, but you can control how you respond. You can spend your energy trying to convince them to care, or you can accept reality, let go, and redirect that energy toward building yourself into someone so magnetic, so self-assured, that by the time they realize what they lost, you won't even want them back. Right now, you have two options. Continue waiting, checking, chasing, hoping they'll realize your worth. Or take your power back. Step into your confidence and let them experience life without you. Only one of these choices leads to growth. Only one of these choices sets you free. Choose yourself, every single time. 2. Level up. Become someone they can't ignore. You used to be the girl who was always available. The moment they texted, "Are you free?" you replied instantly, eager to see them. When they were busy, you waited, patiently, hopefully. And when they left, you felt empty, lost, like a part of you had disappeared with them. You weren't just missing them. You were missing the version of yourself that felt whole when they were around. That's the painful truth. When we chase, it's not just about wanting the person back. It's about wanting the validation, the attention, the feeling of being chosen. But here's the shift. You are not an option. You are not waiting in the background for someone to realize your worth. You are stepping into your power. You are becoming someone they can't ignore, not because you're proving yourself to them, but because you're evolving into the highest version of yourself. This is not about revenge. This is about self-transformation. Imagine running into them 6 months from now. You look different, glowing, confident, effortlessly magnetic. But the biggest shift? It's in your energy. You are no longer that woman who was waiting. You are the woman who became. So how do you level up in a way that commands respect, attention, and most importantly, self-love? You start from the inside out. The first step is your mindset. Everything begins here. Right now, you may feel abandoned, rejected, or unworthy. But these feelings are not facts. They are the result of conditioning. Years of believing that your value is tied to how someone else treats you. It's time to unlearn that. Your worth was never up for debate. The moment you start seeing yourself as the prize, everything shifts. People don't chase what is desperate, they chase what is rare. You must become the woman who is too busy creating her dream life to sit around wondering if someone will return. And that starts with action. Your physical presence is a reflection of your inner world. This isn't about looking good for them. It's about presenting yourself in a way that aligns with the person you are becoming. When you take care of yourself, when you dress with intention, when you walk into a room with quiet confidence, people notice. But more importantly, you notice. You feel different. You carry yourself differently. Think of the last time you saw someone who had truly leveled up. Maybe it was a former friend, a past partner, or even an acquaintance you barely knew. You saw them after months, maybe years, and something had changed. They radiated a different energy. They looked put together, self-assured, like someone who had stepped into their power. And for a moment you wondered, what happened to them? That's exactly what happens when you level up. People who once took you for granted start seeing you differently. But by then, you won't be doing it for them anymore. Your growth must be for you, not for the hope that they will notice. Because the truth is, the most magnetic thing in the world is a woman who is so focused on her own evolution that she is no longer concerned with proving her worth to anyone. Now let's talk about emotional strength. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to regulate your emotions, not suppress them, but control how you react to them. Most people operate on impulse. They feel hurt, so they act out. They feel abandoned, so they chase. They feel doubt, so they seek validation. But when you master your emotions, you master your reality. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When someone pulls away, your reaction determines everything. Do you spiral? Do you seek their attention? Or do you take that energy and redirect it toward yourself? The moment you choose to invest in yourself instead of proving your worth to them is the moment the power shifts. It's not just about external leveling up, it's about emotional resilience. Here's the reality. If they left, they expected you to wait. They expected you to be there, watching, hoping, lingering in their orbit. When you disappear, when you elevate, when you show through your actions, not words, that you are becoming someone who doesn't need them anymore, it shakes them. Because now they are forced to question if they misjudged you. And that's when the regret sets in. But by the time they feel it, you'll be too far ahead to care. You'll be building something real. Your career, your passions, your mind, your body, your confidence. Everything that makes you whole on your own. And that's when something incredible happens. You stop wanting them back. The version of you that craved their validation no longer exists. Think of it this way. If they walked back into your life today, would they be meeting the same woman they left behind? Or would they be meeting someone so evolved, so elevated, that they now have to question whether they're even good enough for you? That is the ultimate shift. Not making them jealous, not proving them wrong, but growing so much that you outgrow the version of you that once wanted them. This is what leveling up really means. It's not about them, it's about you. Right now, you have a choice. Stay the same, waiting, hoping, lingering in someone else's story, or step into the version of yourself that no longer waits for anyone to recognize her worth. The woman who is so focused on her own path that she naturally becomes someone they can't ignore. 3. Set boundaries. Stop accepting less. You've done it before. You let things slide. You excuse their behavior. You told yourself it's not a big deal when deep down you knew it was. You felt the discomfort, the small betrayals, the moments when they showed you, through actions, not words, that they weren't valuing you the way you deserved. And yet you stayed. Why? Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that being understanding makes you a better partner. That if you give them enough time, enough love, enough patience, they'll realize your worth. But here's the truth no one tells you. The more you accept less, the less they respect you. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about protecting your self-worth. They're about teaching people how to treat you. When you tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or bare minimum effort, you send a message, whether you mean to or not, that this is okay, that they can get away with it. And once they see that, it only gets worse. Let's be real. They don't change because you love them harder. They change when they realize you will not stay if they don't. You have to set the standard. And that starts with one simple rule. If it doesn't align with your worth, you walk away. Now I know what you're thinking, but what if I lose them? That fear, the fear of losing them, is exactly why they take you for granted. You see, people don't respect what they think they'll never lose. Think about it. The friend who always cancels last minute, yet you keep making plans with them. The job that underpays you, yet you stay because asking for more feels uncomfortable. The person who disappears for days, only to come back when they feel like it, and you still reply instantly. In all of these situations, what's the common factor? You didn't enforce a boundary, and because of that, nothing changed. Now, imagine if you did. Imagine if you stopped making excuses for the friend who doesn't value your time. Imagine if you told your job, I know my worth, and if you don't, I'll find somewhere that does. Imagine if you didn't respond to the person who plays games with your emotions because you refuse to be an option. What do you think would happen? I'll tell you. The people who truly respect you will rise to meet your standards. And the ones who were only there for convenience? They'll leave. But that's a good thing, because they were never meant to stay. So how do you start setting boundaries without fear? First, you need to identify what you've been tolerating that you know deep down is unacceptable. What are the patterns in your life where you keep giving more than you're receiving? Where are you making excuses for someone else's behavior at the expense of your own peace? Write them down. Get clear. Then, you need to decide what the new standard is. Not in theory, but in action. If someone is inconsistent, what does that mean for you? If someone disrespects your time, how do you respond? The mistake most people make is thinking boundaries are just something you say. I need more effort, I need better communication. But words mean nothing without action. Boundaries are enforced through behavior, not speeches. And this is where most people struggle, because enforcing a boundary means being okay with the possibility of losing someone who doesn't want to meet it. And that's terrifying until you realize this. You are not losing them. They are losing you. When you truly internalize that, everything changes. You stop feeling like you have to beg for someone to treat you right. You stop fearing the silence after you walk away. Because you understand that losing someone who refuses to respect you is not a loss, it's a gain. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most drained, when you were constantly over-explaining, over-giving, overthinking. The common denominator? You were in a situation where your boundaries were weak and your self-worth was dependent on external validation. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine living in a way where you no longer question whether someone likes you, because you are so firm in your own value that the only question that matters is, do they align with my standards? This is what happens when you set boundaries. You stop settling. You stop bending to fit into spaces where you were never meant to shrink yourself. You stop waiting for people to choose you, because you choose yourself first. I know this isn't easy. You might have spent years accepting less, thinking that's just how love works, that if you're patient enough, good enough, selfless enough, they'll change. But tell me this, has it worked? Has tolerating inconsistency ever led to deep, lasting respect? No, because relationships, romantic, friendships, professional, only thrive when both people show up fully. When there's mutual effort, mutual care, mutual respect. And the only way to ensure that is to refuse anything less. So here's your challenge. The next time someone crosses a line, don't ignore it, don't excuse it, don't pretend it doesn't matter because you're afraid of conflict. Pause, recognize it, and enforce your standard. If they get upset, that's their problem. If they leave, let them. The right people will never require you to lower your standards to keep them. And the moment you truly embrace that, you stop chasing. You stop settling. You start living. Because from this moment forward, you are not accepting less than what you deserve. 4. Disappear. Make them feel your absence. Have you ever wondered why some people never seem to miss you after they leave? You gave them your best, you were always there, yet the moment they walked away, they acted like you never mattered. And worse, you kept showing up, liking their photos, responding to their messages, staying in their world even when they had already left yours. That's the problem. They never felt your absence because you never truly left. After the breakup, you still interacted with their friends, still followed their updates, still liked their pictures on Facebook and Instagram. Maybe you even posted subtle reminders, hoping they'd notice, hoping they'd miss you. But guess what? They didn't. They felt no real loss. Because to them, you never truly disappeared. People don't appreciate what they think will always be there. You need to create distance, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. You need to make them feel what life is like without you. Because until they experience that void, they will never have a reason to miss you. Right now, they assume you're still an option. That if they ever change their mind, they can slide back into your life without effort. Your presence, even if it's just through social media, gives them comfort, and that comfort keeps them from ever truly realizing what they lost. So, it's time to do the one thing they never expected: disappear completely. This is not about playing games. This is about reclaiming your power. Most people think that to make someone miss them, they need to do something. Post pictures looking amazing, show off their new life, casually check in with a message. But this only proves one thing: you're still thinking about them. The moment you take real action, the moment you stop reaching out, stop checking their updates, stop existing in their orbit, that's when things shift. At first, they might not notice. They might assume you're just giving them space. But then time passes and suddenly there's nothing from you. No texts, no reactions to their posts, no indirect status updates, just silence. And that silence does something powerful. It forces them to confront reality. They start to wonder, did you move on? Why aren't you reaching out? Are you really gone? That's when they begin to feel the weight of your absence. This is how people realize what they lost. Not because you told them, but because they felt it. Most people fail at this because they don't fully commit. They think going silent for a few days or a week is enough. But then the urge kicks in. They check their ex's social media. They post something subtly aimed at getting attention. They respond to a random message, thinking, it's just harmless. Every time you break your own silence, you destroy its power. Think of it like this. Imagine someone owes you money. If they keep seeing you around, laughing, acting like everything is fine, do they feel pressure to pay you back? No. But the moment you disappear, the moment they realize you're no longer giving them access, the pressure builds. It's the same with relationships. They won't feel urgency to come back if they still feel connected to you. You must cut the cord completely. This means no texts, not even a, hey, hope you're doing well. No likes, comments, or views. If they post a story, resist the urge to watch it. No indirect signals. Stop posting things hoping they'll see it and react. No mutual friend updates. Don't ask about them. Don't engage in conversations about them. When they truly feel the emptiness where your presence used to be, that's when the shift happens. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, the best way to make an impact isn't through anger, sadness, or proving your worth. It's through indifference. Human psychology is simple. We value what we can't have. The moment someone feels like they've lost something valuable, their mind fixates on it. It's why people suddenly want things they took for granted once they're gone. Think about it. You've experienced this yourself. Maybe it was an old friend who stopped talking to you, a job opportunity you ignored, a person who was always there, until one day, they weren't. And suddenly you realize their worth. That's exactly what happens when you disappear. They might have walked away thinking you'd always be an option, but when they realize you're truly gone, that's when they start to regret it. But here's the catch. You're not doing this to make them come back. You're doing this because you refuse to be an option. At first, they might not care. They might even feel relieved thinking they now have freedom. Then, curiosity creeps in. They start wondering why you're so quiet. They check to see if you've moved on. Next comes doubt. They expected you to be waiting. But now, you're nowhere to be found. They ask themselves, did I misjudge them? And finally, regret. They realize they didn't just lose you, they lost someone who truly cared. By the time they reach this stage, something incredible happens. You no longer need them to miss you, because in your time away, you've grown. You've built a life that no longer revolves around them. You've become someone stronger, someone who understands that the real power isn't in making them chase, it's in becoming someone who doesn't need to be chased. Right now, you have a choice. You can stay in their world, watching, waiting, hoping, or you can disappear. Not as a trick, not as a strategy, but because you deserve more than being someone's afterthought. So let them feel your absence, let them wonder, let them realize what they lost, and in the meantime, you move forward. You become the version of yourself that doesn't look back. 5. Make them regret, without trying to make them jealous. You think posting a picture with another guy will make them jealous. You hope they'll see it, feel a sting of regret, and suddenly realize what they lost. But the truth, they don't. They see right through it. They know exactly what you're doing. And instead of feeling regret, they feel something else. Validation. Validation that you're still thinking about them. Validation that you still care enough to stage a reaction. Instead of making them miss you, it confirms that they still have control over your emotions. And just like that, you lose the upper hand. Hurt people try to trigger jealousy. Powerful people make others feel regret, not by force, not by playing games, but by becoming someone worth missing. Real regret doesn't come from jealousy. It comes from the realization that they lost something valuable, something another person now recognizes and cherishes. Think about it. If they see you with someone new and assume you're just trying to get their attention, they dismiss it. But if they hear from someone else that you're thriving, that you've changed, that you've become someone they barely recognize in the best way possible, that's when doubt creeps in. That's when they wonder if they misjudged you. The real key to making them regret leaving is not to make them jealous, but to make them feel the loss of you in a way that shakes them. It starts with becoming someone they no longer have access to. You used to be predictable. You used to be the person they could call late at night, the one who always replied, the one who gave them endless chances. Now, you are a mystery. They look for you, and you're no longer there. They scroll through your old messages and there's no new response. They check your social media, and instead of trying to prove you've moved on, you're simply living. Nothing fuels regret more than realizing you are doing fine without them. The moment they sense that your world no longer revolves around them, they start questioning their own decisions. At first, they don't believe it. They assume it's an act. But over time, as they see you glowing, leveling up, unbothered, something shifts inside them. They remember the moments when you were fully theirs, the way you cared for them, the way you understood them like no one else. And for the first time, they wonder, did I throw away something I'll never find again? This is why playing jealousy games doesn't work, because it focuses on a surface-level reaction instead of deep, lasting regret. The kind of regret that lingers, that doesn't go away with time, that makes them second-guess every choice that led to losing you. The strongest regret comes when they realize they didn't just lose you. They lost the chance to experience the best version of you. The version that is now flourishing, growing, and being appreciated by someone new. And the irony? By the time they recognize your value, you will have outgrown the need for their validation. Most people make the mistake of trying to control regret. They want it to happen fast. They want to see immediate results. But regret is a slow burn. It doesn't hit when they see you with someone new. It hits when they see you becoming someone they no longer have access to. So how do you ensure that happens? By shifting your focus away from them and fully onto yourself. Instead of spending your energy thinking about how to make them notice you, spend it on becoming someone that commands attention effortlessly. Someone so magnetic, so confident, so self-assured that by the time they realize their mistake, you won't even be considering them as an option. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." If you truly want to make them regret losing you, stop trying to get a reaction from them. Stop letting their opinion dictate your actions. Because the second you prioritize yourself over their attention, everything changes. You no longer care whether they see your progress or not, because you're too focused on your own evolution to need their validation. And that's when the regret hits them hardest. Not when you try to trigger it, not when you force it, but when they see, too late, that you've become someone they can't get back. By then, the power is entirely yours. Not because you waited for their regret, but because you no longer need it. 6. If they come back, don't let them think they have the right. One day, they'll come back. It might be a random message. "Hey, I was thinking about you today." Or maybe a simple reaction to one of your stories, just to test the waters. They'll act like nothing happened, as if they never walked away, as if they still have a place in your life. But here's what you must understand. Just because they return doesn't mean they deserve to stay. They didn't lose the right to you because they left. They lost it the moment they took you for granted. The moment they treated you like an option. The moment they assumed you'd always be there, waiting. And now when they realize what they lost, they think they can just slide back in. This is where most people make the mistake. The moment they get that message, they feel relief. Finally they realized. They respond quickly, enthusiastically, trying to pick up where things left off. And just like that, all the progress they made, every step towards self-respect, confidence, and independence, is undone. Because the second they welcome this person back without hesitation, the dynamic resets. The message you send isn't, "I've grown." It's, "You were right. I was always going to be here." That's why when they come back, you must place them in a position where they have to prove themselves. You are no longer the person they left. You are not the same woman who once doubted her worth, who accepted the bare minimum, who waited for validation. You have leveled up. And that means they don't just get to walk back in like nothing happened. If they truly regret losing you, they will show it through effort, not words. At first, they might not expect this. They'll think a simple "I miss you" will be enough to get your attention. But when they see that the old version of you, the one who once needed their approval, is gone, they will have no choice but to work for what they once took for granted. This is where you shift the power. If they were careless before, they must now be intentional. If they were inconsistent before, they must now be steady. If they thought you'd always be available, they must now wonder if they even have a chance. And most importantly, if they left without a second thought, they must now understand that re-entering your life is not a guarantee. It's a privilege. This isn't about making them beg. It's about making sure that the person they once disregarded is no longer so easily accessible. The truth is, some will walk away again once they realize they actually have to put in effort. And that's a blessing. Because those who are unwilling to prove their worth were never meant to stay. But the ones who truly recognize what they lost, they won't just say they've changed, they will show it. This is the test. Most people won't pass it. And that's okay. Because your life is not about proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it the first time. It's about surrounding yourself with people who never needed a second chance to appreciate you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." So don't waste time wondering if they'll come back, if they'll regret it, if they'll finally see your value. Instead, become someone so powerful, so confident, so whole within yourself, that their return no longer determines your worth. If they come back, the only question that matters is not whether they still want you. It's whether you still want them. 7. The most important question: do you still want them? They come back. Maybe with an apology, maybe with nostalgia, maybe with the promise that this time, things will be different. And for a moment you feel it. The satisfaction, the validation, the proof that they finally see what they lost. But here's what you need to ask yourself before you let that feeling take over. Do you still want them? Not, do you want to win? Not, does it feel good to have them chase? But truly, do they still align with the person you have become? Because here's what happens too often. You work so hard on yourself. You heal, you grow, you become stronger, wiser, more confident. And then, the moment they show interest again, you forget all of that. You slip back into the past, into the old version of yourself that once thought they were the best thing you could ever have. And just like that, all the progress you made is at risk of being undone. Don't let the feeling of winning make you forget your actual worth. The goal was never to just get them back. The goal was to become someone who doesn't need them back. You have to step back and ask yourself, are they coming back because they truly value me now? Or are they coming back because they miss the comfort, the security, the version of me who would have done anything for them? People regret losing you for 2 reasons. 1, because they genuinely realize your worth and are willing to do the work to earn a place in your life again. Or 2, because they don't like feeling like they lost control over you. And if it's the second, that's not love, that's ego. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So what are you thinking right now? Are you thinking about how to make them chase harder? Or are you thinking about whether this relationship even deserves a second chance? Don't let the old emotions cloud your judgment. Think logically. What would the highest version of you accept? Would she settle for words with no actions? Would she fall for nostalgia when she knows the reality of what happened? Would she lower her standards just because it feels good to be wanted? No, she would recognize that love, real love, doesn't need to be chased or manipulated. It doesn't return only when you've moved on. It stays, it grows, it respects you even when you're no longer around. So now, the choice is yours. Not theirs, yours. If they come back, don't ask yourself if they still want you. Ask yourself if they are truly worthy of who you've become. Because if they aren't, the real power move is not taking them back. It's walking away with your head held high, knowing that you never actually lost anything, but they did. Everything we've talked about today leads to one simple truth. Your worth is not determined by who comes back, but by who recognizes your value from the start. You don't need to prove yourself to someone who once overlooked you. You don't need to convince anyone that you are worthy of love, respect, or commitment. What you need is to become so deeply rooted in your own self-worth that whether they return or not, it no longer affects your peace. This journey is not about playing games, seeking revenge, or making someone feel regret. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, your standards, your ability to walk away from anything that doesn't honor you. The real power is not in being chosen, but in choosing. It's in knowing that your happiness doesn't come from external validation, but from the strength you've built within. Take this lesson and apply it, not just in relationships, but in every aspect of your life. Practice self-discipline, emotional control, and personal growth. Recognize that true confidence comes from knowing that you never have to beg for what is meant for you. And if something is not meant for you, let it go without hesitation. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever walked away from someone only to have them return? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one.